Hey guys, so this week we were tasked with making a lesson plan for any grade level that we chose, and the requirement was it had to incorporate a math standard and a children's literature book. Luckily, there's a lot of children's literature books that deal with math topics, so I chose the book It's About Time by Stuart Murphy. So this is the lesson plan template I used. It's just the basic one that they give us at Laverne. So the topic I chose was how to tell time, and it's for second graders. So the content standard I chose was under measurement and data, and it's number 7, which says tell and write time from analog and digital clocks to the nearest 5 minutes using AM and PM. No relationships with time. Examples: minutes in an hour, days in a month, weeks in a year. So my lesson objective that I created was second grade students will be able to distinguish time by using an analog clock. What's going to be needed is the book It's All About Time by Stuart Murphy, pencil, paper, small analog clock for each student, and then the worksheet that I'll be passing out. So the multiple intelligences that'll be addressed will be logical, mathematical, linguistic, and interpersonal. So the logical mathematical will be addressed because we will be incorporating telling time, which does fall under math, so it is a math standard. Any kinesthetic learners will get to use the small analog clocks that will be passed out, which will allow them to do some hands-on learning and will allow them to actually maneuver the clock and should help them learn a little bit better. And for linguistic learners who enjoy reading and writing, there will be a worksheet at the end where they get to make their own schedule, and they'll get to write all their times down, and we also will be reading the book, so that's some ways that they will be able to learn a little easier. So this is what my instructional plan looks like. It's broken down into 3 different parts: the activating background knowledge, instructional input, and the how my lesson will begin is I'm going to start by activating background knowledge, just seeing if anybody knows anything about time, clocks, anything like that. It could be as simple as just pointing to the clock on the wall and saying, hey, does anybody know what time that says? Or if students know any terminology like when noon is, midnight, or what times those represent. Next, I'll be passing out all the clocks, so each student will have their own analog clock where they can actually maneuver the hands to be able to tell whatever time they want. So before the lesson starts, I need to make sure that everybody's familiar with telling time, which they should have learned a little bit in grade 1. So I need to go review what each hand tells and just give them some sample times to be able to practice to make sure that they can match it. And by doing this, students will become more familiar with it, and they'll be able to review what they already know, so that way when we get onto the book and get onto the actual lesson, they'll be good to go. The next part of the lesson plan is the instructional input, so that's when I'm going to pull out the book It's All About Time. And so how we're going to incorporate it is the book kind of tells this person's schedule, and so as I say the time, the students are going to have to match whatever time I say to their clocks. So for the example I used was the very first page of the book starts with wake up time, it's time for a big stretch at 7 a.m. So when I say that, all the students are going to hold their clocks, match to 7 a.m. and hold it up. That way we can check to make sure everybody's got it. And we're going to continue to do this with the rest of the book so they can learn all their different times, especially the hour hands and what they represent. And by incorporating the books, with this, the students will be able to practice both math and reading and will enjoy the activity more. And so the closure for my activity is students will be given this worksheet, and I'll show the worksheet at the very end, and it's kind of just their own schedule, so it's similar to what the book they just read, but it's going to be for their own. So there's analog clocks that are blank, and it says examples like what time do I eat dinner, what time do I wake up, what time do I do my homework, and they're going to write their time in like on a digital clock, and then they're going to match their analog clock, so that way they can kind of incorporate it into their own daily life, and it'll give them a reason to actually want to learn the clock and give them a way to be able to incorporate it into their own life and learning. So by the end of the lesson, students should be able to tell time, especially be able to know what hours things are, and they should be able to use both an analog clock and a digital clock. So as promised, this is the worksheet they'll be doing. So things like time I woke up, the time school starts, when I eat lunch, what I eat for dinner, when I do my homework, my bedtime. This will allow students to be able to incorporate this into their daily life.